Now, what I talked about was basically the waterfall project management. And this is a linear way of project management. Here we have really clear goals at the end of the project. So there is a lot of planning going before, at the beginning there is a lot of planning, and then there is the execution. Now, for example, in real life, you can think about property development, but for example, training, I would think about a 1 week intensive training where you set the goals and it's just 1 week long. Now, the Agile project management, you can see that it's circular. So what does that mean? That in each sprint, as we call it, there are all the phases. So basically the kickoff, the planning, execution, monitoring, and the closure. Why is that? Because they used it for software development. At the beginning, the coder and the client couldn't understand each other. So when they started to speak, they couldn't set really clear goals. But as they started to work along and create the product, they understood more and more each other. So there was a direction, but they had to do in smaller chunks. So this is how it started with the Agile principle. Now, why do we think that Agile can be used for business professionals is because generally they take a lesson every week. So we meet with them for a session every week, and we have a contract for 10, 20, 30, 40 hours. So this seems like an Agile project. And basically what we do, at the beginning we set SMART goals, but when we meet our learners, they have their assumptions, beliefs, and they don't have real clarity on their goals. There are certain areas where we can dig into, so we know the direction, what they really want to do. Now, why we chunk it down, so basically if we have a 6-month project, then we want to say, let's say we want to have 5 sprints, so 6 weeks, we plan for 6 weeks. It gives a lot of flexibility, because how many times it happened that they wanted to focus on a meeting, then after 4 weeks, they were called by a headhunter and they said, oops, I want to focus on interviews. So immediately you can start, it's a new sprint. And also so it gives the flexibility, the agility, so you can adapt very quickly. At the same time, all these sprints will give certainty to the brain because they see the progress. Oh, we've done this and we closed that topic. And they also agree. Now, it's a highly collaborative process. We have to communicate continuously with the learner, the team, and it means that their involvement and engagement is much higher, the stakeholder engagement. The communication has to be really effective, explicit, open, and also clear during this process. Now, how does this go? This is, we have a start, and at the start, during the kickoff session, we have to envision the end, and we have to decide where we are going to. And of course, it's not a straight line. We know that we are in a VUCA world, so things happen. So the travel is never direct. So during this kickoff session, when we saw the future, we said, you know, these are the themes that we want to cover, and this is how we are going to work together. So we talk about the working culture, so themes and working culture. After that, we need to prioritize. What is your priority? What do you want to tackle first? And this is about also quick wins for us. It's about basically customer satisfaction. And how do you want to sequence it? So there is sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. I want to deal with meetings, presentations, and so on. And after that, you zoom in into the first sprint and you start the detailed planning only and the kickoff, detailed planning, and the process for the first sprint, where you actually do it together with them. Now, I would invite you to before that, sorry. So this is a definition that I let you read. That was co-created with some trainers who we worked with, and this was how they summed up, together with us, the process, the Agile teaching process. Now, I'm going to invite you to reflect on what you have just heard about Agile. Questions can come at the end of the session. And just think about it. Would you be inclined to experiment with this? And if not, what is stopping you? If yes, how could you implement that?
So I feel like this sounds familiar to me in terms of collaborations that I've done in lots of different areas. How do you express dynamism within your framework? What's different? What's the agility?
The agility is that there is a continuous check-in, for example, at the beginning of each sprint, each session, where they are with their thinking, where they are with their learning. It's not just about language. So we are language experts as well, but we are not just interested in that, but creating effective learning. And so if they want to speed up their process, for example, you check in at the beginning of each session. So what has been going on with your effective learning? And everything, I mean, we will touch on that later, that everything is questions. You ask questions a lot. When they ask you to be a language expert, then you are a language expert. Other than that, you ask questions. So a little bit like Socrates, nothing new. So I don't know if I answered your questions.
Yes, definitely.
I was interested that each sprint has a different sort of topic, like meetings or whatever, but surely each sprint depends on the one that's gone before. That's the whole point. If you're presetting it, then actually all you're doing is short courses in different topic areas. So
that's a way to see it.
Influence each other.
Everything influences everything. It's the butterfly effect. So but it depends on priorities of that team or of that person. So it's about, yeah.
When you meet your learners at the very beginning, you often, do a kickoff and you talk about the goals, and people come up with different goals, and so you decide, okay, well, yeah, this is what I'd like to do in 40 hours. So I'd like to touch on improving my pronunciation. I'd like to revise the tenses again and again and again. I'd like to do some presentations. So what you do is you build that at the beginning, and then you say, okay, well, we're going to, if that's okay with you, we're going to start with this sprint, which is perhaps the priority for you, bearing in mind that there were the other goals that had been defined, but that because of the Agile principles, you are allowed to change. And at the end of the sprint, you ask your people, say, okay, are you ready to move on? No, we need to do a bit more work on presentations. Okay, or maybe, yeah, fine with presentations, let's do something else. And then you check in, you see, as Gabriella says, making sure that everyone's really in line with what they want to do. Because we know that sometimes they come in and they say, well, we want to revise the tenses, but really, that's not what they need, because they can know the tenses, yeah. But how is that going to help them in their business lives? So is that, that's that helps you? Yeah. So you keep the general direction, and then each sprint is, as you say, and that's the beauty of it, because it gives you the opportunity of shifting.
And is this really what you want to do? Is this your goal? Yeah. It's always a question. Is this really? Go ahead. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Are there any other...
I think we have to move on.
Yeah?
I'm sorry. Sorry for that.
Okay.
What about when somebody already knows the stuff right away? Then you do like
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. We have to move
We
on.
can talk about that later.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so now we've talked about the process, the principles, and really what's important is bringing the process alive. Because a process, a method, a framework is what it is. But without people, without human beings, then, you know, it's rather inactive. So what we would like you to do now is to talk together in small groups. We set out the process. What does that mean, setting out the process? What does bringing the process alive mean to you? If I say that, what does bringing the process alive mean? What does it evoke? And how do we go about bringing that process alive? So maybe you could just brainstorm a bit together.
Maybe together, so...
Yeah.
What do you think?
We're running just 1 or 2 minutes behind.
Yeah.
Not
We're doing
too much.
okay.
Yeah, we're doing okay. I know, no time. Time flies. Just some words. Let's...
What would you do to bring the process alive? What does that evoke?
Personalization.
Sorry?
Personalization.
Okay.
Personalization, yeah.
Participation as well.
Yeah, participation, nice.
Okay.
Compromise.
Compromise.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
Agility.
Okay.
yes.
Motivation.
Okay, motivation, nice.
Negotiation.
Negotiation.
All right.
Yeah, negotiation, yeah.
Okay. Let's crack on.
Yeah. So, if you remember, there's the kick-off, and there's the planning of the course together, and that's followed by the execution phase, which is the rollout of the content for as far as we're concerned. Okay? So, what brings the process alive? Well, Gabriella and I like this phrase, human magic, because that's what makes the whole thing come to life. We are human beings, yeah? We're social beings, and we need connections, not just digital connections, huh? And we thrive on relationships. So when building a working relationship with your learners, we really need to think about psychological safety. We want them to feel that they're in a supportive environment where they can express themselves without being judged, where they can feel comfortable about talking about not only their needs and expectations, but also about their fears and their emotions. Learning a new language is exposing oneself. It's stepping out of your comfort zone. And it sometimes means losing some self-confidence. We want, of course, that for the learners to have a pleasant experience.